What is going to be the best professions in the Burning Crusade Classic, and which of these will also end up making you the most gold? This is something I'll try to explain in this video. Tailoring is going to be a lot different compared to Classic. We're now able to craft 3 different cloth cooldowns: Primal Moon Cloth, Shadow Cloth, and Spell Cloth, and all of these has a separate cooldown. Your character only needs to be level 50 to start doing these, but if you get your character to level 60, you also have the opportunity to become a specialist. Becoming a specialist also allows you to craft 2 of the same cloth when you use the cooldown. But this is not really the main thing. When you become a specialist in, for example, Primal Mooncloth or one of the other ones, you will also be able to craft amazing level 70 epic items. And even though these are cloth items, then you might also end up seeing something like a Balanced Druid with the Spellfire set, or a Rested Druid equipping the Primal Mooncloth set, as it's providing many useful stats and a ton of bonus healing. I remember back in 2021 in Burning Crusade, there were also a lot of Resto Shamans using these items in the beginning, as they were extremely powerful for phase 1 and 2. This is why I also recommend most cloth users to be going for tailoring, as you will be able to craft these amazing epic items. I know they're going to be expensive, but then again, it's also going to be items you will be using for a long time. And remember, the cloth cooldowns you can also sell on the auction house, and by the time the cloth becomes cheaper, you could then be crafting your own epic items. What's also pretty useful about tailoring is that a lot of these cloth cooldowns will stay relevant throughout the different phases when we are unlocking new epic items to craft. In phase 1 there's also going to be epic drops from dungeons, and those allows you to craft tailoring items, but they're bind on equip, so you can either sell them on the auction house, send them to other characters, or use them by yourself, as they will still be useful when you're heading into tier 5 content. To summarize, most cloth users should just be going for this profession by default. Moving on to the next profession, Alchemy. In the Burning Crusade, we are also able to choose an Alchemy specialization. Your character needs to be level 68 and your Alchemy 325. I won't really be going into much detail about the quest, as I've already covered those in another video, and I will leave this in the description below this video. But what happens when you become a specialist? Well, you will have a chance to craft additional elixirs, flasks, potions, and also the new Primal Might. Primal Mights are needed for many other professions to craft epic items, so by becoming a Transmutation Master, there is a chance you will be crafting additional Primal Mights. This is going to make such a huge difference when you, for example, need to craft your Spell Striker set, as both of these items requires 5 Primal Mights. Does this mean that you need to combine Tailoring and Alchemy? Definitely not, because Alchemy isn't really that great of a profession. Yeah, you can make gold in the beginning, but if you already have a lot of gold, well, then you could simply just buy the Primal Might and focus on your tailoring only, and do another profession that I will cover in just a moment. In phase 1 we can get the Epic Alchemist Stone. This is providing us with 40% more mana and healing from potions, but as we're progressing to the last phases of Burning Crusade, we're able to get way better trinkets. However, in the beginning, yeah, 40% more mana isn't bad, but there's going to be many other useful trinkets, which is why Alchemy isn't that great. It's good for gold making, but honestly, I don't really like it too much. Unless you're going to raid and you're going to be the guild's alchemist. As an alchemist, you'll be able to craft new protection potions, and as you're crafting these, you also have the possibility to discover a cold run for that protection potion. Cold runs are not bind on pickup, which means you could just buy them on the auction house and skip this profession entirely. We still don't know about all the Burning Crusade Anniversary Realms changes. If they end up doing a change to this, Alchemy might also be way better. And don't forget that Alchemy will also be making you a lot of gold in the beginning. However, there is a way better profession for those of you who would like to min-max and also get more benefits. What I'm thinking about is going to be enchanting. We're not just going to enchant items or disenchant those and selling materials on the auction house or performing enchants for other people. No, there's going to be a huge benefit with this profession. When you get this to a higher level, you will be able to enchant your own rings, and you need to be an enchanter to perform these. In other words, you won't just be able to open up a trade window and enchant someone else's ring. Even though there's 4 different ring enchants, then let's be honest, the one with healing power and spell power is going to be the best. And this is why it's also going to be a good profession for healers and spellcasters. Earlier in the video, I also mentioned tailoring being beneficial for a spellcaster and healer. This is why these 2 professions are also a great combination, as you'll be using them for most of Burning Crusade, especially because the ring enchants will always stay relevant. Jewelcrafting is a new profession in this expansion. We are able to craft many different things, such as gems, this cloth head, trinkets, rings, and also necks. Many of these items and gems can just be sold on the auction house, which is why you don't really need the profession if you need these kind of things. However, if we're looking at a goal perspective, then this profession is absolutely amazing. Many people need gems, or in fact everyone does, which is why you can also end up making a lot of gold, especially if you're one of the only persons on your server to unlock one of the rare designs. The biggest benefit with Jewelcrafting is that you will be able to get epic gems in phase 1. Other people will have to wait for phase 4 and 5. But then again, even though the epic gems are amazing, then you can only equip one of each. In the beginning of Burning Crusade, you can also craft Jewelcrafting specific trinkets, as these are bind on pickup. There's going to be many different variations, some for melee DPS, range DPS, spellcasters, healers, and tanks. What I dislike a lot is that these are being rare quality, so when you start raiding or collecting Badge of Justice, you will also replace these trinkets in next to no time. There is going to be a better version, but you will also need to wait for Sunwell to be released before you can get these, and by that time there's going to be so many more useful trinkets, which is why I don't really like this profession a lot. There will of course also be bind on pickup items you can craft, where you need to be a jewel crafter to get these necks. But then again, these are also from phase 5. So, should you choose jewel crafting as your main profession? Honestly, nah. Even though we can craft these epic gems early on, then remember they're going to be unique equip. So, if you for example prefer spell damage or bonus healing, then you will only be able to get one of these. You could just be using the rare gems instead and choose another profession, such as Enchanting, where you will be able to enchant both of your rings and that way also increase either your bonus healing or spell damage by a lot more. Moving on to Leatherworking, what's so special about this? Well, first off, you will be able to unlock many different drums, such as this, increasing you and every party member's haste by 80. We don't know what they will do in Burning Crusade Anniversary, maybe this will even be a raid-wide buff. No matter what, you will need to be a Leatherworker to use this, and it's going to be absolutely insane to increase everyone's haste, and not just for raiding, also when you're going to dungeon farm. In phase 1, we are able to farm reputation with many different factions, and that way also unlock new patterns to craft many different leatherworking specific items, mail and leather. There is going to be a 3 set bonus as a leatherworker, but you can still equip these items without the profession, so if you're for example looking for the cleft tooth set, well then you don't really need the profession, you just need to find someone who can craft this for you. That being said, as a leatherworker, you can also make a lot of gold by crafting these and selling them to other people. You can also make plenty of gold with the different leg armors, and in the beginning, the primal nether will be bind on pickup, which is why the leg armors will also be extremely expensive, at least until the phase where primal nether is no longer bind on pickup. In phase 1, we can also craft different epic sets, such as these items from elemental leatherworking, insane for rogues and feral druids. As a hunter or enhancement shaman, you could instead be going for dragon scale items, or if you're playing elemental shaman, go for these items instead. For those of you playing a balance druid or resto druid, you could also be going for the tribal set. But all of the items that I just showed you are extremely expensive to craft, and will also be replaced the moment you start doing tier 5 content. Yeah, some of these also when you start doing Karasan, Ghoul Slayer and Macpherodon Slayer. Before I cover the remaining major professions, then let's talk about gather professions. There is a big problem, or at least there were back in Burning Crusade 2021. We are talking about bots fly hacking in dungeons to collect herbs, ores, and different chests. And I gotta be honest, I actually feel like it might end up being like this on the anniversary realm as well, at least if we look at the current classic anniversary situation where botting has been a problem from the beginning and it still is. Hopefully they do something about it this time around. If not, well, then I've also made a tier list with how I expect each profession to be making gold in phase 1, where we're talking about Alchemy and Tailoring and Enchanting and Jewelcrafting being the best, especially Alchemy and Tailoring with their insane cloth and also transmute cooldowns. Moving on to Blacksmithing. A huge change is that we will be able to craft insane weapons if we are being a weaponsmith. For example, the Lionheart Champion or Deep Thunder for those of you enjoying PvP. That 4-second stun is going to be killing everyone in arenas. There's also going to be one-hand weapons such as Dragonmore, increasing your haste by 212 for 10 seconds. And the great thing is that back in Burning Crusade 2021, you could be using 2 of these at the same time. Hopefully it stays like this. There's also going to be an X, useful for those of you playing Orc, but honestly, Dragonmore is just so much better with that insane proc. In phase 1, we're able to craft Dragonfist Hammer, and yes, it does increase our haste. There's going to be a one-hand weapon, and also the Lionheart Blade, but there's no strength proc here. There's going to be a two-hand axe with base stats, a main hand axe as well, and of course Thunder. Thunder isn't that great yet, as there's going to be no stun effect. We need to wait for phase 2 and tier 5 content to be released before we are able to upgrade these weapons, and by that point, Deep Thunder is now available, and it's also the same case with Lionheart Champion, as it now also procs 100 strength for 10 seconds. As an armorsmith, you can craft a small chest for hunters and enhancement shamans. In phase 2, it's becoming a lot better, as it's now also protecting us from all physical attacks for 6 seconds. There's also going to be a plate chest, and be aware of the different stats, as those are mainly for immediate DPS, so not really useful as a tank. In my opinion, it's better to go for weaponsmith. There's always a lot of competition for weapons, where as an armorsmith you could always go for a tier token instead, or any of the other epic chests available to you. With this profession being covered, let's move on to the last one, engineering. With this profession, you are able to craft an engineering specific mount. There's going to be a normal and an epic version. In phase 1, we are also able to craft different trinkets, both of these for tanks as they're providing stamina, but the Goblin rocket launcher is going to be the absolute best, as it's also providing you with a range pull, and this range pull is also stunning the target. Many of you has probably been using Goblin Sabercharges in Classic. In Burning Crusade, there's going to be the Super Sabercharger, which deals a lot more damage and will stay relevant for AoE pulls. A lot of you are probably already familiar with all the different engineering goggles being introduced in the game, but back in Burning Crusade 2021, these wasn't introduced in phase 1, we had to wait for phase 2 or well tier 5 raids to be released before we could also create these. I believe it might end up being the exact same case on the anniversary realms, but nothing has been confirmed yet. Hopefully we will be getting some news anytime soon. With this profession, you're also able to craft an insane cloth build. It will often provide you with a 4000 absorb damage for 8 seconds, and this can be used in arenas as well. What you should also be looking forward to is the rugged boots. There's going to be a cloth and a leather version, and these will increase your run speed by a high amount for a short duration. In some situations, they can be extremely powerful, especially in PvP. Alright, so what is the best professions to choose in the Burning Crusade? Well, it is a difficult question to answer. First off, gather professions is only for those of you who would like to farm gold, or if you need these materials to level up your main profession. But what is going to be the best main professions? It all depends if you like to PvP or PvE. Let's start with PvP. What I like is definitely going to be Enchanting, as I'll be able to enchant both of my PvP rings. Engineering comes with that insane build that I talked about earlier, providing you with 4000 absorb. Jewelcrafting allows you to craft epic gems in phase 1, but remember, these are also unique equip. Blacksmithing comes with the best in slot weapon for paladins and warriors, as you will be able to stun an enemy for 4 seconds. This is busted and a must have. Tailoring isn't really that good, unless you plan to play Pyro Mage where you would like to one-shot, else there isn't really a huge benefit in PvP. Alchemy is not useful, as you won't be able to use mana potions in arenas, and Leatherworking no benefits, as you can't use your drums, and your epic PvE gear isn't useful in PvP, as you're lacking a lot of resilience. What about PvE? Leatherworking is a must-have for many classes, especially melee DPS and hunters, but also people who would just like to increase their chance of getting invited into a raid, as the drums is a must-have. And the epic items is pretty insane for rogues, feral druids, shamans, and hunters. Blacksmithing is also a must-have profession for enhancement shamans, furry and arms warriors, and ritual paladins. The epic weapons that are covered earlier in the blacksmithing section can be upgraded, and they're absolutely insane in the beginning of this expansion. What about engineering? Well, it all depends if the goggles are available in Phase 1. If so, well then most classes should honestly be going for this profession. And no matter what, if you're playing a tank, I would be leveling engineering, as you'll benefit from the trinkets providing you stamina, and also one of these giving you the possibility to range pull with the rocket. As a mage, warlock, priest, and also resto druid, I would like to level up tailoring. In Phase 1 we can craft so many different epic items, not just for DPS, but also healer. And remember, there's also going to be the Spell Striker set. This comes with a headpiece, which is why engineering isn't that important. What about enchanting? All spellcasters will benefit from enchanting both of their rings with spell power, but also one tank, the Protection Paladin. The Protection Paladin has a lot of different abilities that does spell damage, which is why it's also important to increase your spell power to be dealing more threat. Remember, we also got dual specialization, so what you will also benefit from, as a paladin at least, is that you can swap to Holy and now also enchant both of your rings with healing power. Sadly, alchemy isn't really a strong profession. If I had to choose this, it would be for a healer to get 40% more mana from my mana potions. But then again, it also requires you to be using the alchemy trinket, and there's so many other useful trinkets in the game that, if for example, increases your mana per 5 seconds, spirit, or bonus healing. I don't really like jewelcrafting that much. Yeah, I know we can craft epic gems in the beginning, but because these are also unique equip and not a big upgrade compared to the rare gems, which is why I don't find it that useful. Unless you would also be able to make a lot of gold at the same time, as jewelcrafting is making tons of gold by cutting gems and selling these to other people. On my channel you will find a lot of other useful Burning Crusade guides, such as reputation, gold making, leveling, tips and tricks, yeah, preparations as well. And you definitely don't want to miss those, and the future videos I will also be publishing very soon. So make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell to get notified when I post these. As always, thank you so much for watching and have an amazing day. Peace.